Stock slump on Wall Street in the worst sell-off since August. The Nasdaq corrects over 3%, the Dow over 2.5% as weak manufacturing data sparks recession concerns. Nvidia leads the tech sell-off in tech stocks, falling over 10%. Asian markets have opened sharply lower following cues from Wall Street. The Japanese Nikkei corrects over 4% as tech stocks tumble there as well. China's services PMI is also lower in August compared to July. The GIFT Nifty is also suggesting a gap down start for our own markets. Crude prices correct nearly 5% to erase all the gains for the year. Brent slips to about $73 a barrel as demand concerns spike following weak manufacturing data from China and the US. Gold prices hit a weekly low as the US dollar strengthens. Potential relief is in store for Infosys on the 30,000 crore rupee GST notice. Sources say that council is likely to clarify on the tax demand. The FMCG companies could also get some relief on the tax imposed on snacks. That's a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. And Godfrey Phillips finalizes the sale of its retail business to a startup called New Shop. Sources say the term sheet has been signed to transfer 24/7 stores and the transaction will be completed this month. It's a very red-looking Wednesday morning. You're watching Power Breakfast here on CNBC TV 18 in the Mumbai News Center. I am Hormuz Fatakia. Let's first take a look at how the Asian markets have opened, and unsurprisingly, all of them have opened sharply in the red this morning, considering the handover we had from Wall Street. The Hang Seng down 1.5%. The Taiwanese index down almost 3.5% this morning. The losses are coming from the Nikkei. At one point was down almost 4.5%. That's still down around 3.5% as we speak. The Shanghai Composite too is a relative outperformer, but is still down 0.6% in early trading this morning. The South Korean Kospi is also trading with losses of over 2%, and it's a very red-looking screen across Asia. Pull up the GIFT Nifty as well, and that is no different from what the other markets are doing across the globe. The implied open suggesting a gap down start, 175-point downtick as we speak for the GIFT Nifty as well. So it's a red-looking screen. Asia in the red, Wall Street ended in the red, and the GIFT Nifty also suggesting a gap down start for our own markets. And speaking of Wall Street, it was the biggest sell-off that the indices saw since that 5th of August fall that we had. The major benchmark, the Dow Jones plummeted over 600 points, while the S&P 500 slid over 2%. The Nasdaq also fell 3% in yesterday's trading session, led by a steep decline in the Magnificent 7 mega-cap technology stocks. Nvidia dropped nearly 10%, shedding a record $280 billion from its market cap, which is the biggest ever single-day decline in market value for a US company. CNBC's Bertha Coombs gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. markets down sharply across the major indexes Tuesday after new manufacturing data shows signs of weakness in the economy, and investors continued that recent rotation out of tech stocks. The Dow dropped 626 points. The S&P 500 was down about 2%. Down nearly 120 points, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq was the big loser, falling more than 3%, down 577 points. Two readings on manufacturing production, both coming in lighter than expected. Both the S&P Global and the Institute for Supply Management showed that manufacturing contracted in August. Now, the report showed that a decline in new orders plus a rise in inventory, suggesting factory activity could remain somewhat stagnant for a while. Construction spending also fell. Meantime, 1 year after a strict short-term rental policy went into effect, Airbnb is asking New York City authorities to reconsider their ban of stays less than 30 nights. Airbnb argued in a blog post Tuesday that apartment vacancy rates have remained unchanged and that the short-term rental policy has not helped ease the housing supply in the city. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back over to you in Mumbai.
Let us now listen in to former Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester talking about the Fed's inflation fight and what to expect from the August jobs report due on Friday.
The jobs report is going to be an important piece of the puzzle in determining what the Fed's going to do at the September meeting. I don't think there's any question that the Fed's ready to start the easing cycle. I think they will have a discussion about whether they want to start with a 25 basis point move or a 50 basis point move. But more important even than the first cut is sort of the path of rate cuts coming after that, and we're going to get information from the Fed on that. We know the job market has been moderating, and I use that word moderation as opposed to weakening, because remember, the job market has been quite tight. So we've seen this loosening in conditions. The chair coming out of Jackson Hole said he wanted to not go much weaker than where they are now in terms of the job market. And I think that's why there's been this real focus on that upcoming report. But remember, the Fed looks at all the data coming out, not just one report.
Well, that's all we have on the global market front, but how will all of these overnight cues impact our own markets? We have our research team joining in with the trade setup, the stocks that are likely to be in news, and of course, the setup on the FNO side of things. First up, Vivek joins in to get all the market cues we need to watch out for this morning. Well, Vivek, it looks like the 14-day winning run for the Nifty might just take a bit of a pause today.
Right, 14 straight sessions of gains is what we saw and ended with yesterday. It was unprecedented, and today looks like it could be snap, and it as per what the global market cues as well as the Asian market cues are indicated, it appears as though there could be a deep gash across our markets as well. Like you mentioned at the start of the show, US markets yesterday saw quite a bit of a sharp fall. In fact, saw the worst day since August 5th. Along with that, one key parameter yesterday that saw quite a bit of a sell-off was actually oil prices. Oil prices fell over 4% yesterday, and indicating that they had given up all of their gains as far as 2024 was concerned. So it was actually a risk-off rally that you saw across most equity as well as commodity classes last evening. Now coming to the Indian markets, 14 straight sessions of gains, 6 record close is what we are. So we are currently sitting at all-time highs, and this indicates that there could be a certain amount of profit booking that we could see at least at the start of the trading session. Yesterday, what did well? Financials. So you actually saw banks, you actually saw insurance companies, especially in the last hour of the trading session, see quite a bit of buying. On the other hand, what didn't do so well was the fact that metals continued to drag. Also, certain pharma stocks saw quite a bit of selling pressure. Metals were another pocket that did see selling pressure yesterday. Now, talking about Asian markets, like you mentioned, Nikkei, Japanese markets down very, very sharply. GIFT Nifty indicating a 200-point gap down. What will be important to see is that whether the opening gap down is further sold into, or whether there does emerge some buying support at some of the crucial support levels.
Interesting, Vivek. Thanks a lot for that. A gap down start is in store for the Sensex and the Nifty. Over to Vamakshi now, who would list out the stocks we need to watch out for today. Vamakshi, good morning. What's on your list?
Well, good morning, Hormaz. A lot of defense stocks on my list. HAL, BEL, Bharat Forge, Masscow, all of these counters will be in focus after Defense Acquisition Council has approved 10 capital acquisition proposals worth 1.45 lakh crore. AU Small Finance Bank is the next one I'm watching out for. They have submitted application to RBI seeking approval for voluntary transition from small finance bank to universal bank. Infosys also on our radar. Sources suggest that the upcoming GST Council is likely to consider provisions to give relief to Infosys. Nazara Tech, Delta Corp also in focus. Sources suggest that the upcoming GST Council is likely to review amendments brought in for casinos, online gaming and horse racing. The Fitment Committee proposes to defer industry request on clarity on past demand, seeking more data for a detailed examination of that matter. Apart from that, IEX has reported its August update. The total volume was up nearly 36% YOY, and renewable energy certificates were up nearly 737.5%. MOIL reported the best ever August production of 1.24 lakh tons in the month of August. They've achieved production of 7.24 lakh ton during the first 5 months, which implies an uptick of almost 7% YOY. Godfrey Phillips also on our radar. Sources suggest that the company has signed term sheet for sale of its retail business 24/7 new shop, and this transaction is expected to be closed by September end. GICRE, the government is looking to divest nearly 6.78% of equity, and the DPUMP secretary says that the base size of this OFS is nearly 3.39% with a green shoe option of 3.39%. The OFS will be opening for non-retail investors today and for retail investors and employees of the company tomorrow. PDS also on our radar. The company has given an update on its business operations in Bangladesh. The company's facilities have resumed normal operations, and the company is monitoring the situation and remains positive in the medium term as far as business prospects are concerned in Bangladesh.
Vamakshi, thanks a lot for that update. Over to Sudarshan now, joins in with cues from the FNO space. Well, Sudarshan, it was the Nifty Bank that ensured the Nifty ended above the flat line yesterday. What's the setup looking like on the FNO side?
So if you talk about yesterday's session, what has happened? First, we posted record close for 6th straight day. Gaining streak extended to 14 days. And at the end, absolute change for Nifty was just 1 point. So it had told you that it was a lackluster day of trade. And for today, after weak global cues, we are set to take a pause to 14-day winning streak, and at this point, GIFT Nifty is down almost 200 points. On the institutional side, we saw buying by both FIs and DIs. FIs bought shares of more than ₹1,000 crore. DIs bought shares of almost ₹2,000 crore. Even in the index futures, buying figure by FIs was almost ₹400 crore. And with this, they have added long contracts of almost 2.40 lakhs, and long exposure remains around 70%. On the option side, for the call side, 25,300 call have seen addition of more than 7 lakh shares with premium at almost 76, and 25,200 put has seen addition of more than 7 lakh shares with premium at 52. With this, important levels for Nifty, support is seen around 25,150 and resistance is same around 25,330. For Nifty Bank, support is seen around 50-day moving average, that is 51,531. And resistance is at previous day's high, that is 51,750. Lastly, in stocks in focus, there are 3 stocks in the band, and those are AB Fashion, Balrampur Chini, and Hindustan Copper.
Darshan, thanks a lot for that. We'll keep an eye out on all of these names. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you highlights from what's likely to be on the agenda in the next GST Council meeting. Stay tuned. Back on the other side. Welcome back. Now, the GST Council meet, which is scheduled to take place next week, will take up a host of issues. Sources tell us that a potential relief is in store for Infosys and tech giants like Amazon, Google and Meta. Timsi Jaipuria joins in to give us a sneak peek on what we could expect. Timsi.
Well, the 54th GST Council is likely to meet on 9th of September in New Delhi, keeping a table full of agenda items. According to sources, the Council is likely to deliberate on extending a relief to Infosys. The IT major, remember, was issued a pre-show cause notice worth 32,000 crore rupees, out of which 2,000 crore rupees worth of liability was waived off by DGGI for FY18 based on clarifications shared by the company. But for the remaining liability, the company has sought time from the tax authorities, and in the meantime, it is understood from sources that they could get some relief from the Council. Apart from this, Council is likely to get in relief for data hosting players such as Amazon, Google, Meta, etc. It is likely that the Council could consider clarifying on treatment of place of supply, what should be treated as export of services, GST rate treatment when recipient is abroad, and much more. Sources also share that the Council is likely to reject the proposal pushed by the EV industry to consider a GST exemption on EV charging at public charging stations. Council is likely to propose that 18% GST on charging should continue. The industry had also pitched for a reduction on GST on manufacturing of Li-ion cells for Li-ion batteries for EV, battery packs, electric motor EV drive assembly, etc. from 18% to 5%. Here we learn from sources that the Council-nominated fitment committee is understood to have recommended against the demand, saying that any reduction here could lead to inversion of duties. Not just this, the Council could also get in relief for the education institutes and universities such as IIT Delhi on grants and donations received for research. Council could exempt them from GST. Remember, recently DGGI had issued 7 show cause notices to universities and institutes, including IIT Delhi, seeking 220 crore rupees worth of dues. And last but not the least, the Council is likely to hold a review of the 28% GST levied on online gaming, casinos and race courses. The Council will take up a status update here, and what we pick up from sources is that there could be a setback for this particular sector too, as the sector had sought clarity on the past demands from 2017 till 2023 from the Council, and the Fitment Committee is likely to have deferred the matter, seeking more information and data. Remember here, the past liability is of over 1 lakh crore rupees. Let's see what all happens when the Council meets.
Timsi, thanks a lot for that. All eyes on the GST Council meet. Over to another one now. Godfrey Phillips has finalized the sale of its retail business to a startup called New Shop. Now, sources say that the term sheet has been signed to transfer 24/7 stores, and the transaction is likely to be completed this month. Ashmit Kumar is now joining in with the details. Ashmit, take us through the deal contours.
Well, an important development this coming in from Godfrey Phillips, especially ahead of the September 6th AGM. What we've learned, what sources tell us, is that the company has finalized its plan for sale of its retail business 24/7. The format, 24/7 format stores will now be sold by Godfrey Phillips. Those plans have been finalized. Importantly, it's being sold to a startup, the Delhi-based startup. The new store essentially already is in the convenience store business, has about 160 stores across 35 cities. That will be the company taking this forward. Now, what's important is that the term sheet importantly has been signed. The talks have been underway for a very long period. The term sheet importantly has been signed, which signifies, of course, forward movement in terms of when this transaction is to be closed, in terms of timelines. Both the parties are keen on moving aggressively and closing this transaction as soon as possible. The timeline that we hear, that they tell us, is the end of September is when they're looking to close this transaction. And in the spirit of wanting to close this transaction, what we also pick up from sources is that there are efforts already underway by both sides for beginning to transfer the stores and the assets of 24/7 to new stores. So a hugely important development this, especially in light of the promoter dispute which is underway as far as the boardroom is concerned. The reason being that the executive director, Samir Modi, has been steadfast in his opposition to the sale of 24/7, the retail business. Beena Modi, of course, and the other board members, the broader board members, are in agreement with the sale of the retail business. So there is some amount of underplay there, some amount of undercurrent there. We'll, of course, see all of it play out at the AGM on September 6th.
Ashmit, thanks a lot for that. Time for a short break. Up next, we get you cues from the commodity space. Stay tuned. Back on the other side. Welcome back. Now, Manisha Gupta joins in with all the updates from the commodity space. Manisha, good morning. Looks like the slippery slope on oil is getting even more slippery.
Oh, well, it absolutely is. And 5% of a decline in overnight market is something that not too many people saw coming. Now, with this, we've seen $75 break for Brent, and the WTI is trading below $70 a barrel. It's a 9-month lows for the prices, but there are 3 or 4 important factors which have weighed onto the market. Well, it was coming because the China manufacturing PMI data has come in on the weaker side. The OPEC and allies will start increasing production from the month of October. And the only thing that perhaps was holding the crude oil prices was the Libya output decline. Now, with the resolution in sight for Libya to bring back production and its exports as well, the markets do not see any supply concerns there. The demand concerns, though, have continued not just from China, but various parts of Europe. And the U.S. summer driving season, which ended with this weekend, also has seen demand actually on the lowest side in the last 2 years. So the gasoline futures also fell by 6%. It's the lowest in 32 months that we've seen onto this one as well. So there is a pressure across markets, especially with the dollar index trading at a 2-week high. It's not just the energy markets, but the base metals, precious metals, everything in Asia is trading in the negative when it comes to commodities.
Everything in the negative when it comes to commodities. Manisha, thanks a lot for that. Now, moving on to updates from the sporting world. India has soared higher in the 2024 Paralympics, with Team India garnering 20 medals. Before this, the Tokyo Olympics was India's best ever performance, winning 19 medals. On day 6 of the Paralympics, India won a double podium in the men's high jump and javelin throw. India's Sharat Kumar clinched a silver, while Mariyappan Thangavelu grabbed the bronze medal in the men's high jump. In the javelin throw event, Ajit Singh and Sundar Singh Gurjar won silver and bronze respectively. And in athletics, Diti Jivanji won bronze medal in the women's 400-meter race with a final timing of 55.82 seconds. That's all we have on this edition of Power Breakfast. From me and the team that put this show together, thank you so much for watching. Bazaar Morning Call sets you up for today's trade.